Hi there, this is Dr. Ganesh. Today in this class I'm going to explain about OSI reference model versus TCP and IP reference model. And earlier my two videos which has been detailedly explained about how OSI reference model works and what are all the different functions of each and every layer in OSI. Similarly in TCP IP protocol reference model also I have explained in the second video. Now in this video, what I'm going to explain is what is the major similarities and what is the major differences between the OSI reference model and TCP IP reference model. The main objective of this OSI and versus the TCP IP model is, in this objective of this class is similarities and comparison between the OSI and TCP IP model. Now let us see first what is the major similarities between OSI and TCP IP model. Both are based on the concept of a stack of independent protocols. If you look at both the OSI reference model and TCP IP reference model, both will have a stack of multiple layers. For example, OSI which consists of 7 layers and TCP IP model which consists of 4 layers. So each one will have a stack of independent protocols. For example, application layer, it's having its own protocol, email, FTP, virtual terminal. There are many protocols according to their application. Similarly, IP protocol, transport protocol, UDP, TCP protocol, data link layer protocol, and physical layer protocol. So each one have an independent stack of protocols. And moreover, the functionality of layers is roughly similar. If you look at that, host to network layer in TCP IP model or the OSI reference model in physical and data link layer, almost the functions are going to be very similar. Whatever the functions performed in that OSI reference model, the same functions which is going to perform in that TCP IP reference model. So more or less, which is going to be similar. And then next, up to the transport layer, the layers which are all physical, data link and network layer, these are all, we call it as a network oriented. Similarly, in TCP IP model, we usually call it host to network. So these two are the network oriented layers up to the transport layer. Same way, above that of the transport layer, whatever the layers, we call it as a application oriented, that is user oriented. User, whatever the way he wants to have a protocol, according to that they can able to use their protocol. These are all the similarities of OSI and TCP IP. Next, let us see that what is the major difference between the OSI and TCP IP. We all know that OSI model has 7 layers and TCP IP has 4 layers. OSI starts from application presentation, session, transport, network, data link and the physical layer. The same way TCP IP have a application and then transport and then IP and then host to network layer. Totally 4 layers which have. OSI model provides a clear distinction between the services, interfaces and the protocols. It means that it provides a clear distinction between what are the services. For example, the physical layer, what services are going to be there. Data link layer, what the services. Similarly, each and every layer will have a separate distinguishable services. And also how it has been interfaced with that adjacent layers and how the data exchange are happening, that also has been given. And also each layer has a specific protocol because each layer have a specific functions. Based on that it has its own protocols in an OSI reference model. As like the TCP IP doesn't provide clearly distinguishable between the services, interfaces and protocol. Say for example, if we take, because the TCP IP which can able to support for both in a broadband connection as well as a mobile data communication. In that cases, that is the reason why the host to network layers which has been defined, which will have a combination of both the physical as well as the data link layer functionality. So If you are going to use for the 4G network to access your internet, in that case is the host network which will have been compressed of on a single layer. Whereas in OSI reference model, it doesn't look like this. So TCP IP doesn't provide clear distinguishable between the services, interfaces, and the protocol. Next, in OSI model, the transport layer is connection oriented. As you know that the connection oriented means the receiver will give an acknowledgement to the sender so that the reliable communication can be established in the OSI layer of the transport, OSI reference model of the transport layer. Whereas in TCP IP reference model, the transport layer is both a connection oriented as well as a connectionless support, because it have the combination of both TCP IP as well as UDP protocol. In TCP protocol, we know that the transmission control protocol which will support for a connection oriented services. Whereas in UDP protocol, user datagram protocol, it support for only the connectionless protocol. So connectionless means it doesn't provide any acknowledgement to the sender for whatever the packets or data which is going to receive. In OSI data link layer and physical layers are separate layer. We can clearly distinguish as well as the services and interfaces and the protocols in the OSI reference model. Whereas in TCP data link layer and physical layer are combined as a host to network layer. That is what we earlier explained, that if you are going to use for the mobile communication to access your internet, in that case, both the physical as well as the data link layer combined together, it will work in the host to network layer. The protocols do not fit well into the OSI model because as the telecommunication ICT has been evolved a lot, nowadays the protocols do not fit well into an OSI model. The earlier, whatever the example we have cited, the same example could be used for this explanation also. Whereas in TCP IP model, protocols will well fit into that model for whatever your applications. And last point is the minimum size of OSI model which have an header size is 5 bytes, whereas in TCP IP model which will have a minimum size of the header field is going to be 20 bytes. Hope you might have understood that how the TCP and TCP IP reference model and OSI reference model have a similarities in what are all the ways and where it has been different, where it has a different from OSI and TCP IP. Hope you would have been understand my lecture. If you have any queries, you can write on the comment line. I will respond to your queries. Thank you for watching my class. Have a great day. Thank you.